Ogilvy, the former coach at Duke University. And we're delighted you're with us here on a perfect day in North Carolina. It couldn't be any better, seriously. I mean, we're talking 72 degrees, relatively low humidity, no wind to speak of at all. The flags on the infield are hanging straight down. We're about to bring you the start of the women's 1,500 meters, the metric mile, and there will be 3 heats. The top 3 plus 3 fastest will qualify to get to the final. And we've got some outstanding talent here.
There's just no doubt about that. And 2 of the best are going to line up in position 5 and 7. You've got Maudie Skyring from Florida State. She's a junior who's run 4:11:43. And then in lane 7, the hometown favorite here, the NC State Wolfpack's Ellie Hennis, daughter of the coach.
She is in lane 7, and she has the second fastest 5,000 meter time in the country collegiately for women, and Maudie Skyring is from Australia, as they say, mate, down there.
She is.
She is the tallest athlete in the field on a total guess, and has run indoors for the mile at the NCAAs, 4:34. Just excellent speed. There she is on the left for Florida State, now a junior. Hennis, now a senior, and has just been an amazing talent. You talk about genetics and all that. The apple did not fall far from the tree for Hennis. She's run 4:15 for 1,500 meters. Skyring's run 4:11 earlier, but Mom represented the United States at the World Championships of track and field for the United States in 1995, and won all kinds of titles, including the national distance title in her day as a runner. And then thought about law school, was offered a chance to be a graduate assistant, and then never left the program. To make a long story short, head coach Raleigh Geiger said to her, "Hey, why don't you stay on? Would you be interested?" And she did. And then eventually, a couple of years ago, got promoted to being head of the women's program. So it's been a wonderful run for her. Her husband, Bob Hennis, an outstanding national caliber runner himself. And it's just amazing when you see genetics like this at work.
They're a fabulous family. Bob's tremendous too, as you said. My first year coaching at Duke University was 1991. I watched Lori and Bob run for NC State. And then I watched her daughter grow up locally. And there's Lori Hennis on the outside, about 10th position in the red and white.
Just marking her time coming up to the
2:02 at 700 meters.
Yeah, 700 meters. We'll try and give you the split for the 800 on the back of the track. A little less than 2 laps to go now. The field crowded and bunched together here at pace solid.
And Florida State's Allison Churchill leading. We went through the half in about 2:20 to 72nd or 4:40 mile pace. So it's Churchill still in the lead. And now moving into second.
Okay.
Hennis is in second now, right off the shoulder.
Hennis, has moved up definitely. Skyring's right there, and the stars have moved up here. Good stuff. Good camera work there.
Skyring and Hennis, 1-2.
And they know each other well.
Coming up to 400 meters to go.
Look at the FSU and crowd right up there.
They're going to fly. Remember, top 3 go automatically, and then the next 3 fastest time. So of these 5, maybe 4, maybe 5 go.
3:11 plus, and no surprise here. Hennis, with her strength, is trying to push and force the pace. Skyring has good speed, and it's a way to get away from guys that do, so that you try and assure yourself of an automatic place in the 1,500 final. So you push it a bit on the backstretch, and you see who will come with you, which is what Lori Hennis is doing. What Ellie Hennis is doing.
Right, and the 2 have come clear, and then there's 3 Florida State runners in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. is Lauren Berman, who's run 4:16. That can hang with Hennis as well. And here comes Hennis down the stretch, 50 meters from the tape.
Yep.
Clearly under control, with Berman in second. And then the Florida State runner laboring a bit in third.
4:15 easily for the victory for Ellie Hennis. And I talked to her mom ahead of time, and she said, we're just working on speed.
That's good.
We want to improve our 1,500 meter speed for the 5,000 meters.
Okay. That for Hennis is actually her fastest time of the season by a couple tenths.
Now, look at the pack here as they enter the Bell Lap in about 3:11 and change, and she runs a 64-plus second last lap. That time of 4:15 at about 17-plus seconds, and you've got a 4:32, 4:33 mile pace if she had gone another 100-plus yards.
You can tell that 5K strength she has down the stretch there, just totally at ease and comfortable, and smiling now with that seasonal best.
They did an interesting article on Ellie Hennis and her mom a couple of years ago and said, well, how is it, Mom, when your mom coaches you? Well, it's actually very good, but there's times of stress.
It's been fun over the years watching them coexist on airplanes and stuff. But great family. And now we go on to our second heat. And we've got more NC State phenoms, especially of interest in position 3. Caitlin Toohey, the North Carolina State freshman. She's run 4:14 this season. And Wasserman of Notre Dame, she's run 4:14 as well. They're the two fastest entry times in this heat.
And as you know about Caitlin Toohey, you could talk about her from now until we go off the air. I'm not kidding. You talk about achievement-oriented upstate New York where she grew up. National high school record is this young lady you're going to see. She has it now as a 4:33 high school miler. And academically, she's as good as she is a miler. It is just breathtaking how good she is in the classroom. Always has been. And she's won all everything titles. I mean, I'm not kidding. It is just, when you read it, it's like perhaps nothing I've ever seen of a high school track athlete as far as titles go. Nike All-American cross-country champion, did it on a muddy turf, and oh, by the way, broke the course record despite the mud and the rain by 20 seconds. Everything was like that.
And as good as her high school record was, the 4:14 is even better than the 4:33. So she's improving here at NC State, which is a really good thing to see.
That is true. That's the equivalent of about a third. And she's, by the way, had to put up with last year, almost a year ago, some knee surgery issues, which she was recovered for. But she had stuff that sidelined her, and she's come all the way back, and that's the equivalent of about a 4:32 mile. So she's back there. She's got great athletes to train with. The team is a tight bonding group of athletes that seem to enjoy each other's company, and they led the NCAA Division I championship until about the last third of the cross-country race of 3 3/4 miles, and they wound up second. But nonetheless, Ellie Hennis was on the team, and head coach Lori Hennis said our goal all along was that cross-country title, and they almost got it.
They surely did.
And look at Toohey get out there and get after it right away.
Toohey going to take us through in 49 seconds. So that's like 64, 65.
That's quick.
Toohey. Pittsburgh girl, right off her shoulder.
Now, for what it's worth, for you athletes watching back there, when you're leading at sea level, it takes a little bit of effort, maybe an extra 1 or 2% to push the air, which has thickness, aside. So if you're tough and you don't mind doing this, in some ways, I didn't have a great sprint finish. I had to do that. I had to push on major races to try and take the kick out of guys. But if you think you can kick pretty well, tuck in behind somebody, let them push the air aside. That's what they do in auto racing for a reason.
Wasserman of Notre Dame has followed that advice, but just now has moved outside and gotten up a little closer to Toohey. because she realized Tui was getting a 5-meter gap on her. So now she's right at second in a great position. So you've got the two 4:14 PR athletes for the 1500 out front right now.
Right, and she's run 4:14, you should say, so add another 17 and a half seconds to that, it gives you an idea. She's at a 4:31 full mile pace. And if you know the mile, that's really cooking along.
We're going to hit the 800 in just a few strides here.
There.
Right, 2:15-ish, 2:16. So
yeah, that's very fast. They are not fooling around. This is lightning fast for a preliminary heat. And look at them pull away here as stress starts to set in on the whole field. Wow.
Wasserman has the look of maturity and perseverance, though. She's in a great position, and she doesn't look like she wants to concede anything to Tui.
I'm just surprised when they know they can get in the final. Why not ease back a little bit here? It's still pretty early in the race.
Yeah, well, I think in general, we'll see tonight if this holds up, but the women tend to race the prelims harder than the men, in terms of just throwing it down, establishing something. All right, they're coming up to the gun here.
They are not fooling around, these ladies. It is. This is like, what is Wasserman pushing her for?
3:07 with 1 to go. If they run a 70, they'll run a 4:17 type pace. And now they're kicking. Look at Tui go. Tui is accelerating, and Wasserman's hanging right with her.
Wow.
3:23 with 300 to go.
Wow, this is going to be close to 4:30.
Yes.
I mean, this is like, I'm just shaking my head here.
200 to go, 3:39.
And Tui's personalities to say, you're not going to beat me. What are you doing?
Here goes Wasserman trying to, and Tui's not letting her. This is great.
This is amazing.
Wasserman coming around the turn, though. Now here's where you maybe think, okay, you can back off. It's okay, but they're not. They're going hammer and tongue all the way. Wasserman getting the best of this one.
I am surprised. I mean, this is outstanding time.
Look at that. 4:11.71 in a prelim heat. 4:11.7.
That is an OMG. OMG. 4:29, pretty much 4:28 for the mile.
So here we're watching them pull away with 200 meters or so to go.
Now, notice we talked about drafting and staying cool. Just let Tui do the work, and if you've got anything left, that extra 1 or 2% is going to help you a bit.
All right, coming off the turn by the steeple with 100 to go right here. That's the relay zone.
This is a wow.
Tui doesn't really want to concede. But Wasserman does outstrength her in the last 50 meters.
Impressive.
Very. And look, 4:16.44 in third for Erin Edmondson. And then Allie Brunton of Pitt, who was sticking her nose in it early, a 4:18.46. It's hard to imagine 4:18.46 not advancing.
Yeah.
Impressive.
I mean, take that to the bank, I think, really, seriously. But anyway, great performance by Katie Wasserman. Give her her due. The young Notre Dame senior just toasts everybody here in 4:11 and change. My goodness.
Well, in 30 years of these, watching these prelims, that's about as impressive as I've ever seen.
Second heat coming up.
30 coming up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
third heat.
3 of 3, and we have a couple of Boston College girls right in the middle that are quick, but the fastest girl by far is Nevada Marino of NC State, and her teammate Samantha Bush. They're in position 6 and 7. Marino's run 4:17, Bush has run 4:22, and then there's Sarah Edwards on the outside. She's run 4:15, fastest of all of them. She's a senior. She's been all ACC for years consecutively, from cross country down to the 800. She is a tough competitor.
She's in Massachusetts. What do you expect?
I hear you.
My stays. She came from a little town of Bellingham, did Sarah Edwards, and going back to the ACCs over a year ago, before COVID, that was one of the last championships before everything shut down. And she wound up winning 437 indoors at Notre Dame for the ACC Women's Mile as it's contested indoors.
Got a couple Virginia girls out front early, Meyer and Desmond. Nevada Marino right there, and Edwards on the outside. They're packed closely together. They hit the 100 in about 17.5 seconds.
Michaela Myers had an outstanding year for head coach Finn Lanana. She got her, not necessarily in just the 1500. This has turned into a tactical race, by the way, right away. Just looking at the pace, this is going to be nowhere close to what Caitlin Toohey and Katie Wasserman did. This is all tactical, and it's going to play into the hands of Michaela Meyer, who has outstanding 800-meter speed. The woman on second place right there, the tall woman. She's run 2:01.82 and transferred into Virginia from the University of Delaware. And she has been bombing great times this outdoor season. She ran 2:05 indoors and then dropped down to 2:01 and change just a couple of weeks ago. So she's happy to let somebody else lead, and if nobody wants to force the pace, she'll use her great speed late in this race.
And that's typical of a Finn Lanana trained runner who can, bide her time and run tactically in smart races. It's always about getting athletes to qualify for the final and saving their goodies. And even if he's not training them on a daily basis, his influence is still felt throughout the program.
Yeah, Meyer's a grad student now, so again, another example of somebody who had eligibility left, and this is going to go on with COVID, even more so when you get an extra year of eligibility. It's like, okay, is this the program that's been good to me? Do I like this? Do I like my coaches? Do I want to stay? So we're going to see a lot of deck chair movement. As we come up to 2 laps to go.
2:07.
They're about 6 seconds behind what the ladies did before in the previous heat. It looks even slightly slower to me. Let's see what they go by in the 800 coming up.
And they're going to be right at 2:25.
Boom, right there. Yeah, even 2:27.
I think
I'm probably off by a second or two. We're trying to eyeball 100 meters away.
Right.
Now things are picking up a little bit. And Michaela Meyer has moved up just a step or two, but certainly the leader knows she's there. Let's see who makes a move. These athletes in a normally healthy time will start training in August, even if they cut back for 6 weeks or so, distance runners like this from the mile on up. And then in some cases, lately I've noticed more and more schools will take their cross-country team or they do it themselves and go away and bond for a week to 2 weeks, some altitude plays. 3:17 or so with a lap to go. And they put the miles in, and the whole season's that way, and there's almost no break between seasons.
And then this year, the cross-country being moved into March and held the same weekend as the in-state indoor meet. You had some athletes running hard at the indoor meet in Fayetteville on Friday and Saturday, and then coming back on Monday,
right,
and racing cross-country. So this year was a year unlike any other, as they say. All right, with 200 to go, we've got a clear separation of 4 athletes, but probably only 3 are going to go because they're slower than the other heats. So this will be interesting. 2 of the runners are state runners. So
I think that's a Boston College runner, Lauren Wade, back there.
Yes.
But look at Skyring just pull away. The young lady from Wollongong, Australia, not too far from Sydney. 4:20 is her time.
4:21.2 for 22 for Sarah Edwards.
That's about a 4:38 or so. Sarah Edwards qualifies and Marino does. Here comes the beginning of the acceleration here, as Lauren White was the BC runner who was in fourth at the time and sticking her nose right in it. She's been a solid runner for Boston College. And just striding away with her. I talked about her 800 time, the 201 stuff that she's done, more speed than anybody there. If the pace in the final is slow, you have to pay your attentions to this lady in the race. Nobody's got that 800-meter speed as she does.
So 22.77 is the fourth, and that might be good enough. And I'm afraid Lauren White's going to be on the outside looking in with that 425. We'll find out soon on the 12 finalist for the 1500.
Roll the drums here as we wait. There they are, right there.
And let's see, who's got 10, 11, 12? There we go. So yeah, Bush is out. Marino made it in. That's all with the auto. So last time qualifier is Lima at 420.89. No, Bess at 421.62.
Took 421. That's about a 438 or 439 if they ran the full mile distance to be able to qualify to get into the final. Very fine times for this whole conference.
And now we got some exciting men's heats coming right up after a short break.
And Doug.
So then I said to him, "You ought to customize your car insurance with Liberty Pay."